Hi everybody, and thank you for joining me today. So working some more on the peacock's wing, and maybe a bit of sky, we'll see. So I apologize if it looks a little more yellowish today. That's because we have a ton of smoke in the air today and it's filtering the light in a weird way, so. And I turned on my crafting lamp to try and make sure we have enough light to see properly, but it's kind of an yellowish color, so yeah. If the colors look a little different today, that's why. Yeah, yesterday was nice and clear, hot and sunny. Today it's cold and wear a sweater weather. Some of that is due to the smoke in the air, but some of that is just, yeah, our weather likes to, our temperatures jump around. But yeah, I won't complain because there's places around here facing evacuation orders because of the fires, and thankfully, luckily for us, we're not one of them, so yeah, we just have to deal with the smoke in the air, but that's, you know, much less of an inconvenience than it is for, yeah, other people, so hopefully it's just a precaution and they will be able to contain the fires, but we will see. So yeah, again, working more in this sloping direction instead of my normal diagonal because of the way the colors are shaped on the pattern. I am adapting my stitching to the pattern rather than the pattern to my stitching as I normally do, so yeah. So yeah, I have tutorials showing how I stitch, you know, diagonally sloping the other way, but I will switch it up sometimes depending on how the picture is. I had a, on the Soulful Mediterranean Tranquility, the stone pillars on the edges were basically vertical columns of color, so I ended up stitching more column style there rather than diagonal. It just sort of the flow of the stitches, it made sense to me to do it that way, so I did. If I'd sort of forced myself to continue the diagonal, it would have meant a lot more color changing and would have slowed me down, so. Oh, we are not off to a good start. There. Getting knots already. So yeah, it's kind of different for me to have threads parked above where I am currently stitching. But that is why. Yeah, usually I fill in all the top and work my way down. This time I'm kind of working sideways across, which results in a little bit different of stitching technique at times. I did actually start at 0 today. Yeah, the last few sessions I had stitched already some in the morning before I made the video, but today we are actually starting at 0, so whatever the count is at the end of this session will be how many we actually did. Yeah, past 17%, and as I said, my goal was, or estimate was 18, and I think we're gonna surpass that, so we'll make up for last month when I didn't quite make my goal. Yeah, last month I was hoping to get to 20%, but that was just, or no, 15%, my mistake, and I got to 14% in a bit, so. But yeah, last month was a lot more confetti in my stitching, and this month has been a lot of bigger blocks, so it's been zipping on by. So we'll see if I need to put in eye drops today because of how smoky it is. It's been not good. Yeah, they said this is the worst season on record for fires, and it's definitely been the worst for smoke. Sort of every few years we sometimes would have a few days of it, but yeah, this summer has been pretty much unrelenting. It's, yeah, not good. Yeah, fortunately the place that's having to evacuate, where they evacuated people by air, it got a little better, so now people are going to be able to evacuate by road. So yeah, and like I said, hopefully it turns out that they're just being more cautious than they have to be and the place doesn't burn down. Oh, yeah, not like Fort McMurray a few years ago. That was awful. Somebody had a video they took of when they were driving out of town in the evac order, and it looked like something out of a apocalyptic movie. It was awful. The skies were red and ash was raining down. Darn it. This knot would not come out. Yeah. Okay. See how much I have left here. Ugh. I hate when that happens. Yeah. There's not much left, which means I have to rip back in order to get enough to be able to tie this off. Yeah. This whole row, I think. Darn. That really sucks. Yeah, unfortunately, when a thread gets knotted up once, often puts a kink in it and makes it more likely to do that again, which is frustrating. Oh, yeah, this is just barely long enough, as you can see. Does not want to stay threaded while I work with it because it's so short. Come on, I just need you to cooperate to do 2 pin stitches. Then I can trim ya. Okay. Okay, well, this is still threaded from where I cut it, so I'm just going to do an away thread method to secure this. So pull till there's just a little bit showing, and then as I stitch, make sure I'm catching this beneath the wraps. Again, this was one I learned to do from the front, and I turned it the first few times to make sure I was doing it correctly by feel, and yeah, now I can tell. After you get the first stitch or 2 in, if you tug on it, you can tell if it's secure or not, because if you didn't catch that tail, it will pop right out. Okay, and then this color we're going to branch off a bit because there are those sideways watermelon symbol stitches breaking it up. So oh. Yeah, there. Go back. Yeah, the end from that thread was trying to pop through to the right side. I said it's so frustrating. It takes one pull of pulling it to get it to come up to the top, but then trying to get it to go back takes multiple. Yeah, not much left to this thread, but I will use it till the end. Okay, so I'm going to switch colors for a bit, just to give myself a break. Okay, let me see. All right, so this is long enough that I'm going to carry it over and park it. Oh yeah, I didn't mark that I parked this here, but I know it's there. Yeah, I was hoping to go for a walk outside today, but with all that smoke in the air, that's not happening. I'll have to pull out my strider machine. Come on here. Oh, there we go. So yeah, I think 55,000 stitches total is probably an achievable goal. We will see, because we're past 53,000 now. So. And yeah, it's still quite a lot of bigger blocks to work. There's here on the wings, and then there's the sky, which is very few colors, so it goes fairly quickly. I might have to stitch some of the sky on camera. Hopefully it will show enough for you all to see it. I've been trying to stitch the palest colors when I'm not filming so that they're done, because yeah, they're harder to see. White on white is not the most visible, so. Oh my gosh, here we go with knots again. Oh, maybe it's this thread, color of thread. I don't know, some colors do seem to knot up more than others. I found 436 seemed to be a really bad one for me. Because yeah, it could be different chemicals used in different color dyes might affect it. I don't know. Or it could just be my imagination. Who knows? Okay, so I'm going to add another thread because I'm branching off this section, because yeah, there's another color breaking it up in the middle. So rather than skipping and leaving gaps, that's what I like to do. And again, as I always say, there's so much of this color in this area that I would be using more than one thread anyway. So yeah, you only get so many stitches out of each strand, so. Yeah, I think I counted on this count of fabric. If it's a big block in one section, I get about 40 stitches per strand. And there's definitely way more than 40 of this color in this area, as you can see. Almost the whole screen is full of it. Full of that symbol, so. If you would cooperate. Yeah, so I have my drapes open all the way to try and get more natural light in here, but yeah, there isn't as much with all the smoke blocking out the sun. Yeah, I kind of can't wait till I get the tail feathers on this pattern, but there won't be in this pass. There might be a little bit further over to the right, just the very top. It'll have to wait until my next horizontal pass. Get just some really nice green as well as the blue. Oh, wow, talking about different ways of stitching, I saw one somebody did, and they were doing the extreme cross country with no grid, and it was like a super size, I think, as well. And they did all the black first. I just thought, wow, you are way braver than me. That gives me anxiety. I like watching other people stitch that way, but yeah, I would be too afraid of miscounting. I already do it when I'm working with a grid and, you know, not skipping over and leaving gaps. I still park things incorrectly sometimes or count incorrectly. And all it takes is placing one stitch wrong, and then you place everything else based off it wrong, and then, oh, I saw one where somebody had been stitching a huge butterfly, and they ended up that the body between the wings was off by one stitch, so it couldn't be centered. Oh, they ended up having to abandon it. Like a lot of people were saying, oh, I can't tell, but they said, yeah, but I'll know when it will drive me up the wall. And I thought, yeah, I completely understand. I'm the same way. In knitting, I've done where I drop down to fix stitches several rows back, and yeah, if people say, like, I never would have seen that mistake, I'm like, yeah, but I would have. It would have been all I could see. Oh, I think this may actually run out in just the right place, because then I can come from the other side and just do a long row under here. Yeah. Of course, now that I said that, watch it knot up on me or something. Sorry, it's my kiddo in the background. I think the smoke is bugging his throat, so that's what you're hearing. Yeah, summer holidays, so I usually try to stitch when I'm alone in the house so there's less noise in the background, but during the summer it was deal with the background noise or have no videos for you all, so yeah, it goes out in the evenings, but the light isn't as good then to film, so. Okay, switch colors again. was looking at the weather forecast, and it looks like that was the last heat wave for possibly the summer, since we're getting close to the end of the summer. Yeah, around here, it starts to get cold in September. I used to, when I lived in BC, you could sometimes have summer last until even October, but here on the prairies, that's not happening. I had to get used to it because, yeah, the seasons seem to change much faster here because of the more extreme temperatures. So where I grew up, sometimes the leaves would change color, but they would take months even, and here it's like within a couple of weeks. Yeah. I think right at the bottom of this square here, there's a little bit of the tail feathers starting, but it's like one row. So a few more rows here, and then I'm going to have to go back over to the left to work my way out. Unfortunately, this lack of light is kind of depressing. I'm very affected by levels of sunlight. I definitely get the winter blues, that's for sure. Yeah, it doesn't bother my husband that much, but me it really affects. Okay, I'm gonna go over left now since that thread ran out right at the end of that row, so might as well. I'll probably put up some big numbers again today. Okay, get ready for some big long rows of this color. get to the very last row of this one, it'll be a bunch of different colors. Break up this monotony of this color a bit. Yeah, like I said, on this pattern, I wasn't expecting so many big blocks of color because, hey, peacocks are colorful, right? But yeah, not all of him is tail feathers, so I guess. Yeah, it was hard to pick just one because Heaven and Earth Designs had so many gorgeous peacock patterns. There was one I saw somebody did recently where the peacock's sort of facing away from the viewer, and then the whole tail is sort of hanging down and takes up like sort of 2/3 of the picture. It's gorgeous. I almost got that one, but I found the colors on that one were, I don't know, oh, it's almost like they had a sepia toned overlay or something. Like, I guess maybe it's meant to be like you're seeing them at dusk or something. I don't know, but yeah, and I really liked how bright and vibrant the colors were on this one, so that's why this one won out. Although this artist also did one called Two Dancing Peacocks, which was vibrant too, so yeah, it was hard to pick. So many gorgeous ones. Okay. Yeah, so this is why I say when a color goes across several diagonals, I often, oops, oh, don't do that to me again. There we go. I often stitch across the whole area at once rather than breaking it up. For one thing, I find it goes a little quicker and less likely to end up with a line going through it if you don't split it up. If you go across the whole thing, then yeah, your tension is more steady. And like I've often said, I haven't had a problem with lines, but hey, can't hurt to be careful either. So yeah, like I said, I split it up around these colors here and had different strands. Now we're back to one strand across the whole thing. Ooh. It's looking a little funny. There, just smooth that out. Make sure there's no knots back there. No, there isn't. Oh. Oh, that didn't come up nicely, did it? Yeah, kind of went on the other side of that thread that was already there, so they ended up like that. Yeah, that's gonna look wonky if I leave it, so sometimes what I will do is I will go the opposite way, come up here and go down in the one that has more strands in it. Here's there, I just made sure that it came up on the other side. Sometimes I'll use a second needle to just sort of hold the existing thread sort of out of the way, and then yeah, because I want all the threads to lie, you know, next to each other, not twisted around each other. But I could see, yeah, when I pulled the thread down to go down this hole, I could see it pulled that strand out of alignment because they were hooked around each other, so. did another super long row. And then, yeah, again, I'm going to have 2 strands again because of that navy blue is breaking up this electric blue. Yeah, so if you heard a bell ringing in the background, that was my kiddo had his Stuffy, the Isabel character from the Animal Crossing, and she has bells in her hair, so yeah. It was funny because I would hear that and think it was our guinea pig's toy until I remember, oh no, she passed away, so it can't be her. And then, oh right, it's his stuffed animal. Yeah, man, I miss that little piggy. Yeah, every time I have to throw the veggie scraps away into the compost. Because we used to save them for her, but yeah. Yeah, I would joke sometimes if I prepared multiple vegetables and she got multiple things, you know, carrot peels and the center from the bell peppers and all this, said she got a salad. Yeah, that was her favorite, was bell pepper seeds. She absolutely loved them. She would eat like the actual flesh of the bell pepper too, but yeah, the seeds was what she wanted the most. I one time gave her part of a bell pepper and there were no seeds in it, and she was just kind of staring at it, looking around like, but where's the seeds? That's my favorite part, before she started eating it. Yeah. Yeah, there were some vegetables she wouldn't eat them more than 1 day in a row or something, like parsley. She'd eat it for a couple days, then she wouldn't touch it. But bell pepper seeds, yeah, she would eat those all the time. It's kind of how we knew she was at the end of her life, was because I put the bell pepper center near and she kind of nibbled at it a little bit, but she left most of it. And I went, yeah, okay, I think this is the end. And yeah, I think she was, at the very last day, she was paralyzed, I think, because she was sitting funny and couldn't seem to move around much. So yeah, poor thing. But like I said, she lived a really good long life. She was like 9 years old, and they usually live 6 to 8 years. So we estimate 9 years, but because we think she was about 1 when we got her, and we had her for 8 years. So yeah. Yeah, she lived a really good long life, but of course it's never long enough for us, right? Yeah. It's always sad when they're gone. Okay, so I'm probably going to end up with 3 strands here from the way that this color is being broken up, but that is okay. Like I said, there's so much of this color here that we would be using multiple strands anyway. There, it was just not quite lying smoothly there. Oh yeah, like I said, big numbers. We're closing in on 200 done here in less than an hour. Oh man, I saw somebody asking, could you do an entire one of these full coverage pieces in French knots? And a lot of people were saying, well, I mean, you could, but good Lord, why would you want to? Yeah. One thing I love about the full coverage pieces is that they don't have any stitches like French knots, because I was never able to get those to work for me easily. Yeah, no back stitching, fractional stitches, or French knots, and that is the way I prefer it. grab my snag tool. I can't thread that. That will not work. Okay, so again, go over here to the left, start a new strand. I'll be working my way back out. Oh yeah, look at that, we're past 200 now. 201. Okay, that almost felt like it was splitting the stitch there, but or the thread there, but it wasn't. There. So I could do another strand because of this, the way this navy splits it up, but instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that part of the row while I'm over there and come back rather than adding another strand. So yeah, there's different ways to do it. But adding another one here would end up with sort of more strands here than there are stitches, so that's why I decided not to. If I'd had some leftover bits that were just enough for those, 6 stitches there in that row, then I probably would have, but I don't. I have only full-length pieces right now, so yeah, that's why I'm choosing to do it that way this time. was trying to move it, but I had it in highlight mode. Goodness. Okay, so another strand. Yeah, I took a whole new one out of the envelope at the beginning of this session. I've used almost all 6 strands from it already. There's that much of this color. don't think we're going to reach the garden wall by the end of this month. There's too much sky in between where I am now in the picture and that wall. So we'll get to it next month, I think. Okay. That one will stay threaded or not. It's pretty short, so. Okay, actually I'm going to do this color now, so a little bit of variety here. After all that bunch of same color there. see there's more pale colors down there, so I don't want to be pin stitching this bright one. Why are you being like that? There we go. Didn't pull evenly, so I had to smooth that out there. Don't want to be left with a loose loop on the front like that. This tablet is getting laggy right now. I probably need to reboot it. It's been a while since I did that, so yeah, it's a pretty new tablet, but oh, everything does crash at some point. It is a computer, right? So yeah, I don't reboot it very often, maybe every couple of months when it starts to act up. So that's probably what I'm gonna have to do after this session is over. Yes, I think we'll finish the rest of the top of his wing here that's in this pass, since this is line 140, that's where I'm quitting, and then I think that will be it for today. We'll have put up some good numbers here. We're closing in on 300 done, so I'm definitely happy with that. Okay, I can actually do another couple of stitches there. Oops. There we go. The strand turned out to be a little longer than I thought. The back of my piece won't look perfectly consistent, but that doesn't bother me. Okay, so strand was being very stubborn about going through my needle. Oh yeah, I think we'll pass 300, so definitely be a good productive session today. just barely enough to get that last stitch out of it, but it's all good. Okay. 766. There we go. Knotting up on me already. Yeah, as you can see, when we get to more color changes, it really slows progress down. Get that one. Okay. No, you're just not going to cooperate and stay threaded. But that one actually did, even though it was even shorter. Oh yeah, 300. We are going to surpass that. Just a bit more, and this section of the wing is done. That'll be where I wrap things up. Okay, $7.99. Here it is. Oh, pardon me. This is short, but I think I can get one more stitch out of it. So I'm just gonna tack it there with a pin stitch. There, before I unthread it. There we are. Okay, almost done. Oh, 3, 2, 1. It's done. Of course, now I marked another one done, so I threw that off. Oh, I thought I could get away without adding any more colors before I got to the bottom, but I guess not. Okay. 9, 5, 8. Yeah, the other stitches of this color are ways away, so I don't want to carry a thread that far, so I'm just going to use a short one here for this one stitch by itself. Use a different strand when I get to them. All right, don't know if this one's going to be quite enough. I think it'll be just enough for this row here that I've highlighted. Was not wanting to go smoothly, so I went the other way. Oh yeah, I was right, just enough. Okay, and then since that strand is threaded, I will do this last stitch right here. There. Perfect. Oh, 333, maybe I should have left it. So I like to stop on numbers like that, but yeah, 334. So yeah, that was a really productive session today. Got all that top of his wing done. Now I'll have to fill in more sky around him. So next session, you'll probably see me working on sky. I'll try to get the palest parts done off camera so you can see the colors better. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me today, and hope to see you here again another time. Right, thanks everyone. Bye.